Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning everyone. We are from group 1 and before we start our presentation, let me just introduce our group member. First, my name is Irena Rahmawati, you can call me Irena, and in here I'm as the moderator. And there are my member. First is Denik Puput Wijayanti, and the second is Fatchur Rozy, the third is Aderimna Karina Br S, and the next is Ulina Sitorus, and the last is Deriza Angelina Firdaus. It's good to be here today, and have you ever heard about supply chain management? Certainly for students who majoring in logistics, of course we are familiar with the topic. But however, there are still many of us that don't really understand what the supply chain management is. Therefore, in this opportunity, our group like to discuss about the supply chain management. Our presentation has 4 subtopics. The first one, we're going to discuss about the definition of supply chain management, and the second one, we're going to discuss about the component of supply chain management, and the third, we're going to discuss about the purpose and function of supply chain management, and then last but not least, we're going to discuss about the stage of supply chain management. Okay everyone, let's start with the first subtopic that discuss about the definition of supply chain management that will be presented by Denik Puput Wijayanti.
Okay guys, I will tell you about the definition of supply chain management. Supply chain management is a complete cycle chain management starting from raw materials from suppliers to operational activities in the company, continuing to distributions to customers. The term supply chain management was first coined by Oliver and Weber in 1982. Then, what is supply chain? Supply chain is a physical network, namely companies involved in supplying raw materials, producing goods, or sending them to end users. Supply chain management is a method, tool, or management approach.
Okay, let's move on to the second subtopic that discuss about the component of supply chain management that will be presented by Fatchur Rozy.
The component of supply chain management according to Turban 2004 consists of 3 main components, namely number 1, upstream supply chain. The upstream part of the supply chain includes the activities of manufacturing company with supplier. And number 2, internal supply chain. This part of the internal supply chain includes all in-house processes that are used in transforming input from supplier into the organic output. And the last, downstream supply chain. The downstream supply chain includes all activities that involve the delivery of product to customer.
Okay, and the next topic is the purpose of supply chain management that will be presented by Ulina Br Sitorus.
Purpose of supply chain management. The main objective of supply chain management is to coordinate supply and demand actionally and efficiently in dealing with existing problems. Some of the problems that might arise in the supply chain are usually related to the following. The first, procurement, supplier and risk management. The second, customer relationship management. The third, determination of outsourcing rates. Meanwhile, the strategic objective of supply chain management is to become the party that dominates the market, or at least be able to run its business. In order to win market competition, the supply chain of a company must be able to produce product with the following criteria. The first, cheap. The second, quality. The third, on time. Fourth, various.
Okay, let's continue to the next topic. It's going to discuss about the function of supply chain management, and it will be presented by Aderimna Karina Br S.
Okay, let's now look at the supply chain management function. The first function of supply chain management is to convert raw goods into finished goods needed to meet the needs of consumers. This function is closely related to the cost of purchasing raw goods, storage costs, transportation, and so on. Supply chain management also functions as a tool for market mediation, which can connect companies with distributors of these products. And the last function, namely, being able to answer to manage financing related to market surveys, product planning, and the other costs outside of physical payments.
Okay, and the last topic is going to discuss about the stage of supply chain management, and it will be presented by Deriza, Angelina, Firdaus.
Okay, the next is stages of supply chain management. There are at least 6 processes to implement supply chain management properly. The following are some explanations related to supply chain management flow in business. So the first one is customer. Starting with the customer or consumer who order goods from the producers. In this first stage, when placing an order, the customer also provide information related to the product that they order. The information submitted can be in the form of the number of the product that's ordered and the date of the delivery of the product. Okay, second is planning or preparation. After the order is received by the producers, it will then enter the planning stage, where each team or department involved can create a strategy or production plan for the product that is requested by the client. In addition, the production team is also responsible for providing raw materials as needed. So the third is purchasing or transaction. In the third stage of supply chain management, it enters the stage of where the company purchasing product raw materials. And this process will be carried out by the purchasing team or department upon the receipt of the details of the production plan from the planning team. After that, the purchasing team will be contacted the supplier to buy or purchase some raw or supporting materials. This department also has a duty to record the date of receipt and the amount of raw materials that have been purchased. So the fifth is production. At the fifth stage of supply chain management, this entering the production stage of goods, which this stage will be processed the raw and supporting materials to be used as the products that ordered by the customers. And after the merging system is complete, the finished materials that have been processed will be stored back in the building. So the last stage of supply chain management is delivery. Delivery is the process of sending goods that have been stored in the factory for distribution to each customer or consumers of the product. Then the product will be delivered according to the delivery date requested by the client. And the main task of the courier is to ensure that each item will be delivered according to the order.
Thank you for our member that explained about the material, and this is end of our presentation. But before I stop, let me just summarize the presentation. And first is the definition of supply chain management is a complete cycle chain management starting from raw materials from supplier and continuing to the distribution to consumer. And there are 4 subtopics of supply chain management. The first is component. The component of supply chain management, there are 3 components. The first is upstream supply chain, and the second is internal supply chain, and the last is downstream supply chain. The next is purpose of supply chain management is to coordinate supply and demand efficiently and effectively in dealing with exciting problem. And the next is function of supply chain management is to convert raw goods into finished goods needed to meet the needs of the customer. And the last but not least, their stage of supply chain management. There are 4 steps of stage of supply chain management. The first is customer, the second is planning, the third is purchasing, and the next is inventory, the next one is production, and the last is distribution. To conclude, I'd like to say that supply chain management is a important process in logistic activities, which include manufacturing process to distribution of goods to consumer. With supply chain management, logistic activities can be planned properly and correctly. It is also hoped that the material we presented today can be a medium to add knowledge and can be useful for all of us. Thank you everyone for your attention and listening attentively. And if you guys have any question about our presentation, you can use the comment section to drop your question and our group will answer the question one by one. I'm Irena as the moderator and representing our group. I'm apologize if I have many mistakes, maybe in word or deeds. And last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.